Thank you guys so much. We're recording this today. You guys won't be on camera unless you want to ask a question, but all questions we can save for at the very end. Thank you so much for coming for this special presentation. Tonight we're hoping to inspire you, introduce some new ideas about health and wellness. A lot of you here have family members who have been through the program, been successful, and that's why you're here tonight. Introduce some new ideas about health, wellness, hopefully make you think, make you smile, make you laugh. I have two of my co-workers here. They'll be watching you like hawks. If you don't laugh at my jokes, we actually kick you out. You're not welcome here anymore. No, but most importantly, we're here to motivate and inspire you to make changes. Before I get started, I want to make sure everyone's in the correct spot because sometimes mistakes are made with these invites. So tonight is actually Bodybuilding 101. It's hamstrings and glutes, so it looks like everyone is in the proper attire. We'll get started right away. This is how you perform a squat. No, I'm kidding. We won't be doing all that. But no, I am Dr. Brett Appleby. I'm a naturopathic medical doctor with Health Renewal Centers. We are very, very passionate about what we do, and we try to practice what we preach. You guys have met some of our staff here tonight. So Tricia is our lead health coach and our head admin and kind of all things. And also Haley as well is our marketing director and office manager. Just some of the folks that work with us. And you'll get to know them more and more as you get to know us in the future. I've been thinking about a couple of things. I'm going to run a couple of ideas by you guys. Everyone in this room has been successful. Very successful, I would imagine, in at least one aspect, one part of your life. Now think about what you're really, really good at. Now, did that success for you come quickly, easily, and without any effort? The answer, I'm very confident, is everyone shaking their head. It's no, right? Any amount of success, achievement, anything worthwhile in this life can only be attained through hard work, discipline, effort, consistency. Would you guys agree with me on that? So why would achieving real health and vitality be any different? Okay? It's not, obviously. A wise man once said, without hard work, nothing grows. You guys with me on this? Can you guys see this? Yep. Kyle, am I okay here? Nothing grows but those darn weeds. So without hard work, nothing grows but weeds. Okay? Now there's a lot of weeds growing here in our modern day culture. We as a people, as a nation here in America, we're getting sicker and sicker, and those weeds are really growing. Chronic disease is way, way up. Okay? It's risen astronomically in the past 30, 40 years. All since about 1980, if you look at all the graphs. And 1980 was the year I was born, so maybe it's my fault, who knows. My wife might blame me for that as well, who knows. But more than likely it's probably not my fault. But things that you, maybe family members, may be dealing with, things like autoimmune conditions and allergies, asthma, could be acne, arthritis, Alzheimer's is on the rise, autism, attention deficit disorder, okay? These are just the A's. Okay. Chronic disease is on the rise, and it's been on the rise since, like I said, about 1980. And the real question here for you guys here to consider is why? Okay. In my practice, that is fundamentally what I'm after, is why things are happening within the body. And the obvious question is, why are we getting so sick as a people? I'm going to offer you my 2 cents on why we're getting so sick. Our current health system is based off 2 things. Okay. Ease of use would be number 1, and money. Okay, the love of money, the root of all evil. Okay, so you think about this scenario, which is very typical. You go and see your doctor maybe a couple times a year. He or she may run some labs for you. And after reviewing those labs, may come to the conclusion that you need to be on some medication, pharmaceutical drug of some kind to control or manage your symptoms. Every party in this scenario is happy, is satisfied, because the doctor makes money for the 10 minutes spent with you. Pharmaceutical companies are real happy because they usually now have a consumer for life, and we, the consumer, are really happy because all we have to do is what? Remember to take that pill in the morning. Will this ultimately lead us to the real health, the true health, the vitality that we're after, that we want? Will never happen. Okay, and that's the system that we're operating under. My second question that I want to pose is the path that you guys are on now, is it the path health-wise that's going to lead you to where you want to be in the next year, in the next 5 years, and even beyond that? Maybe the answer to that question for you is no, and that's maybe why you responded to an invite, and that's maybe why you're here listening to me here tonight. If you had posed that question to me not too long ago, it would have been a resounding no. I was definitely not on the health journey that I was after. Not too long ago, I was waking up in a hospital bed, recovering from another surgery. This time, the surgery involved a major bowel resection in which the surgeon removed a portion of my small intestine. I got a nice juicy scar that reminds me every morning. It's messing up my six-pack, so I'm really upset about it. But it's there, and it's a part of me now, right? But I've been suffering with a chronic disease for many, many years. And a lot of you probably heard of it. It's called Crohn's. Who has not heard of Crohn's disease? Who has heard of Crohn's disease? Virtually everyone. If I had asked that question back in the 80s or 90s, very few hands would go up. But nowadays, Crohn's is very, very prominent. And so I was suffering from a chronic disease. And so, yes, now I am a doctor, but I was once a very, very sick patient. And the conversations for years with my doctors went a lot like this. They said, Brett, you have an inflammatory bowel disease. It's called Crohn's disease, and there is no cure. And I looked back at my doctor. I said, okay. He said, Brett, we need you to be on these medications for the rest of your life. I said, okay. Brett, you need to take immune-suppressing drugs that actually will increase, unfortunately, your risk of infection and cancer. Okay. You need to take prednisone to control the inflammation. There will definitely be side effects. Okay. They said, Brett, you have an abscess on your anus. It needs to be lanced today. This will be very, very painful. Okay. Brett, unfortunately, we found another abscess. This time it's in your abdomen. We found it on CT scan. It was the cause of your uncontrollable vomiting for the past 24 hours. It's the size of a grapefruit. It needs to be drained today. Okay. Brett, don't worry. None of this has anything to do with your diet. Okay. Brett, unfortunately, the prednisone that you've been taking for the past 8 months has not sufficiently controlled the inflammation. Your bowel is now completely obstructed, and it's all scar tissue. We need to perform emergency surgery right now to save your life. Okay. Brett, the surgery is now complete, but future surgeries are very, very likely for you. Okay. That was my scenario for many, many years. Following my most recent surgery, I was about 130 pounds. I'm about 6 feet tall. And guess what? I was completely lost, completely hopeless, and I was about ready to give up. But miraculously, something obviously occurred. But I was on this treadmill, this medical treadmill. And when you're scared of something, you do basically whatever the authorities are telling you. Okay? And so fear will essentially make you do things that maybe you necessarily shouldn't be doing. And I would say that the 6 most dangerous words in the English language, you know what they are? Take a guess. Honey, will you please marry me? Trisha knows all about that. She's not newlywed, but she's newly engaged. Just actually this weekend. The most dangerous words were just uttered. No, the most dangerous words in the English language are these. They must know what they're doing. Okay? And that's what I thought for 6 years. Then, like I said, something absolutely miraculous happened to me. I was pre-med. I was going to college at BYU, and I was in a course trying to get through college, and I was in a course called Chronic Disease. Professor gave an assignment. She said, pick any disease you want, make sure it's chronic, and do a report on it and do a presentation on it. So naturally, I chose. What disease did I pick? Arthritis. I'm kidding. I picked Crohn's disease, of course. And wouldn't you know it, in my research, I started to come across things that my doctors, that my gastroenterologist was not telling me about, things about diet, about nutrition, about fish oil, probiotics, fasting, exercise, proper sleep, nutrition. Because in all my conversations for years and years and years, as a 20-year-old male, they had never mentioned anything. They had never mentioned diet. You know, in terms of the biggest oversights in the universe, I would put that right at the top. So I started reading all these books, and I started to get a lot of ideas. Okay, and so guess what I started to do? Follow that advice. And so I overhauled my entire lifestyle, my diet, my nutrition. Started to do some detoxing, started to do some coffee enemas, wink, wink. They're awesome. And wouldn't you know, within a matter of months, the inflammation was gone. The blood was gone. No more abscesses, no more cramping at night, okay? Pain was gone. And I knew I was onto something, so I told my wife after a few months of doing this, I said, honey, I'm going to get off these medications. And she looked at me, she rolled over and said, whatever you want to do, sweetie. But I'm happy to report that since that fateful decision, I've been symptom-free now for 15 years. And that's my story. Now, this obviously completely changed the trajectory of my life. So instead of going on to medical school, I went to a naturopathic medical school. There's only 5 in the whole United States. I'm trained as a medical doctor, but my underlying philosophy is very different than what you're going to find at Kaiser or Sutter or Mercy or UC Davis, because I use the techniques that I learned on my own and I apply it to my patients. So ultimately, if you give the body what it needs, it will heal itself. That's the philosophy of naturopathic medicine, or you call it functional medicine. We don't use, or we try to avoid, obviously, pharmaceutical drugs. In my humble opinion, pharmaceutical drugs do not belong in the body. Maybe for acute cases, yes, but for chronic disease, it's absolutely the wrong dog for the hunt. So naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, whatever, these are all synonyms. This has absolutely become my life, my passion. I wouldn't change anything for the world, although I went through 6 years of pure hell. Ups and downs, almost lost a marriage because of it, but now I have 3 beautiful kids. I want to show you guys a picture. This was me this was me right as I was learning about Crohn's disease, that I had Crohn's. I was losing a ton of weight. To show you guys how far I've come, that's actually me in the middle.
No.
It is. You're not buying that? No. That's me on the right, if you still don't know. I was about 130 pounds in this picture. I was very sick. I didn't know it, but Crohn's was about to hit with a vengeance. And this was the year 2000. This picture was taken. I was a missionary in Thailand. Absolutely love Thailand. If you haven't been yet, you need to go. The food is amazing. The people are amazing. But like I said, I had no idea what I was up against while this picture was taken. Luckily, I took the steps that I took by the grace of God, and now I was able to take this picture not too long ago. So that's my tribe now. And I truly believe that this picture would not have been possible if I had stayed on that same conveyor belt of medicine. Okay? Do you guys think that we have a health crisis on our hands, or a healthcare epidemic? What do you think?
Epidemic.
Yeah, epidemic, right? We call it crisis, epidemic. So chronic disease is on the rise. These are some of the main things that we see. So in terms of the killers of Americans today, cancer and heart disease are the top 2, but also there's arthritis, Alzheimer's on the rise, autoimmune conditions, gastrointestinal disorders like I had, allergies are up. We're going to talk about a lot of these today. I'm going to go over some really scary statistics. Okay, 1 in 2 Americans today has a chronic disease, which the CDC is going to define as the principal cause, the main cause of ill health, disability, and death within the United States. Okay, 1 in 2 Americans today, that's 50% of us. And we as Americans are spending by far more on healthcare than any other country in the world. Okay, the next closest competitor in second place doesn't even spend half of what we spend on healthcare. And we're not even the top 40 in the world. Okay, so we're spending all this money, but are we healthier for it? Okay, and I would phrase it this way: the form of healthcare that is the most expensive, it's probably the one that isn't working. Okay, because we're not getting healthier, we got to keep going back to our doctor. We need more drugs, more surgery, more antibiotics. Over 100 million adults today either has prediabetes or is diabetic. We call it insulin resistance. That's 100 million Americans. That's half. Half of all adults are insulin resistant. Okay? And here's the kicker. 90% of those individuals, 90% of those adults have no idea. Now, how could this be possible? We go see our doctor all the time, and my doctor ran some blood work. He ran my glucose, he ran my A1C, he said everything was good. How could I be missing this? Well, let's talk about this for a minute. What would be the signs and symptoms of insulin resistance? Well, it would be this. Maybe you're carrying around a little bit more weight than you would like. Maybe you have a little bit more around your midsection than you would like. Maybe after you eat a meal, you feel like you want to lay down. Maybe you have a skin condition like acne or psoriasis or eczema. Maybe you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Maybe you can't sleep well at night. All of these things that I'm mentioning are potentially linked to insulin resistance. Okay? So these are the signs and symptoms of, this is a handful of them. And so if you're suffering from any one of these conditions or illnesses, you potentially could have insulin resistance. Now, the best way to find out would be, okay, let's do the blood work. Let's talk about this for a second. If you go see your doctor, if you go to Kaiser, if you go to Sutter, any of these big giant conglomerates, the insurance companies are the ones that are calling the shots, and they'll let the doctors know what they're willing to pay for. So if you want to know exactly what's wrong with you, they're going to look at these metabolic tests. And unfortunately, insurance generally only covers 2 biomarkers, and that's going to be your hemoglobin A1C and your glucose. Okay? Now, can anyone in this room, can anyone give me a really good definition of A1C? Anyone know what that is, what it stands for, what it does?
It goes
Yes,
back, it measures your glucose back, I guess, as far as like 3 months.
Perfect, 3 months. How well have you been managing metabolizing glucose in the past 3 months? So it's a percentage of red blood cells that have been damaged in the past 3 months. And what you want is, the lower the better, but low 5s is where you want it to be. Even below 5 would be awesome. I rarely see that. And glucose is the amount of sugar in the blood while you're fasted. Okay? Now, these are the reference ranges. Some of these reference ranges you can see. This is your typical American reference range. And typically doctors want your glucose to be less than 100. These are actual labs from a recent female patient of mine. And when she went and saw her doctor said, you know what? Everything is looking great, and keep up the good work. Okay? But she didn't feel great, and she didn't want to keeping up that great work because she was there for a reason. But her doctor said everything was green and she was good to go and gave her essentially a clean bill of health. Okay? I'm going to give you guys an analogy. I love to give analogies. I'm going to give you quite a bit here tonight. What type of animal is this? What's that? It's a gazelle. It's an impala, yeah. It's a deer. I want to compare this patient of mine like a gazelle. She has now been given a clean bill of health from her doctor. She's now carefree. She's frolicking through the fields. She's right back to that pizza, maybe those burgers, because according to her doctor, it's all good on the Western Front. However, this is only half the picture. There's something on the other side of this gazelle here. We're going to find out what that is in a second here. Similarly, the labs that your doctor ran, 99.99% of doctors will run, it's only half the picture. They're actually missing 2 key biomarkers that are way, way, way more important than hemoglobin A1C and glucose. And so what I did is I ran those labs on this patient of mine, which I do with all my patients, and guess what we end up finding? Not a lot of green, a lot of red. Okay, so what we ended up running is something called insulin, okay, and an insulin resistance test. And we could have only found out this information, obviously, by running this blood work. And now what we find is this patient is not healthy at all, but in fact has severe insulin resistance. She's pre-diabetic, and this will turn into full-blown diabetes usually within about a year, okay? But it could only have been known by running the insulin and the insulin resistance. Now, insulin here, her insulin is 30. Okay, you can see that it's red. It should be 5. She has 6 times the amount of insulin in her blood while she's fasted than should be there. Okay, highly, highly inflammatory, impossible to burn fat for fuel. She cannot lose body fat. That's one of the reasons she went there. You can't burn fat for fuel if your insulin is at 30 while you're fasted. It's not possible. Physiologically, it won't happen. So you've had all these people on these yo-yo diets, and I can't lose any weight, and I'm watching my calories. Well, if you're sitting here, guess what? You're not going to lose any weight. Okay? This is one of the reasons. The other reasons we're going to get into a little bit later, which is the hormones. Okay? Thyroid, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. If you want to lose weight, these need to be optimized. But this is the key marker of all health. So these are folks who, at any other clinic, hospital, doctor in the world, virtually in the United States, would have gotten a clean bill of health, would have gone on eating the same foods, living the same lifestyle, completely oblivious to the fact, right, that there's something going on here. So I went back a couple of months, and I want to see how frequently this occurred with my patients, and virtually every week I see this. So I want to show you some labs. So this was another recent patient of mine, and as I flip through these, I want you to notice The half that the doctors at Kaiser run, unfortunately, they're all green. The ones that we ran, they're all red. So I'm going to flip through these real quick. I know you're getting bored here. Almost done. Okay, I want to stop here because this one is probably the most dramatic, because her A1C in this picture, or in these lab reports here, 5.2, which is pretty much perfect. And look at her glucose, 80. I want these numbers. Okay, these are ideal. Okay, but guess what? She still is insulin resistant. She still has 5 times the amount of insulin in her blood. There's no way in a million years a doctor could know this without running the other half. That's why this is so important. Okay, so we can only get that information. I mean, we get a full sense of security, obviously, if we're running just half of the blood work. And what was the other half of that picture? It is only when you see the whole picture, okay, that you get to see what's lurking behind you that's ready to take you down in due time. We all have something, a cheetah, a lion chasing us. We all will meet our demise. The question is, how close is it trailing? You can only get this information through good quality functional blood work, okay? And unfortunately, insurance companies do not cover this type of blood work. I would call this the definition of functional medicine, because what we're doing is we're catching the disease further upstream before you fall off that cliff. Okay, we're seeing the smoke before it becomes a raging fire. Unfortunately, in America, we don't have a healthcare system. We have a disease management system. And unfortunately, a lot of folks are not expected to be cured, find a healing experience like I did. Okay. What do you guys think? Let's go around the room maybe. What do you guys think are the key causes of our healthcare crisis? What are we doing wrong? Ideas.
The healthcare system.
Healthcare system's broke. Yep, we talked about that for sure. I'm in alignment with you on that. What else is wrong?
Not eating healthy.
Diet. What did you say, ma'am?
Insurance company, like.
Insurance companies are screwing you. I agree with that.
That's the big one.
Diet. What else in our lifestyle? Nutrition. What else?
We don't have a lot of time.
Time. Okay. Time to do what? What would you do if you had more time?
Time to make more healthier food.
Foods. Okay. You would eat healthier. What else would you guys want to do with your time if you had more time?
Exercise.
You would want to exercise more and maybe go to bed earlier, get up later, not have to go to work so early. Right. You guys are touching on all these various components of lifestyle, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, I'm going to put it under the umbrella of lifestyle medicine, and that's kind of what I do. I've been asking this question to, I don't know, hundreds of people throughout my career here. Why are we so sick? And you know the answer that I never hear? You say, hey, Dr. Appleby, we just need more medication. We just need more vaccines. If we can just find that vaccine, we'd all be good to go. We need more surgeries. I don't hear these answers, but unfortunately, that's what most doctors are pushing. Okay, not this doctor. Okay. I want to talk about prescription drugs. So this is a major, major factor. Okay. It's called polypharmacy. It's being on multiple drugs at one time and one individual taking these drugs, the side effects of which are sometimes worse than the disease that you're treating. So sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. Have you ever heard that before? This happened to me because I had Crohn's disease, which was killing me, literally. And they put me on the prednisone and these immune suppressing drugs, and things got way worse. Because what happens when you take prednisone at high doses, 40 milligrams for 7 years? You blow up like a balloon. Okay, so I put on a ton of weight, terrible acne. Okay, a big giant gut I developed. My arms shrunk. You develop something called a buffalo hump when you take prednisone for long periods of time. You guys ever heard of that before? A buffalo hump? It literally sounds. It is like it sounds. It was a fat pad that was developing on the back of my neck. It was super sexy. Women were loving it. I wasn't loving it. And so sometimes the symptoms from the drugs are worse than the disease itself, okay? Now you watch this. If you guys, I don't watch a ton of TV, but when I do, I am shocked at the amount of commercials for these pharmaceutical drugs. And I swear it's every commercial break, and they're all pretty much the same. They got like the same producer doing this thing. We're in a park somewhere. We're pushing a stroller. It's sunny out. And half the commercial is really good, but then the last half, all of a sudden the narrator is going to speak like an auctioneer, And he's going to rattle through, and there's going to be maybe a thing at the bottom, a crawl at the bottom, all of the side effects that have actually occurred to real folks. And it makes you wonder if the bloody diarrhea, the candida infections, the suicidal thoughts, the sudden death, makes you wonder if that's really worth it in the end. And obviously it's not. You guys may have heard of Ambien. Ambien is part of a class of drugs so called sedatives, hypnotics, and the side effects of this drug are very well documented. The side effects of taking Ambien to make you go to sleep are, well, you're still asleep, but now there's sleep eating, sleep walking, sleep driving, sleep sex, all with no memory of it the following day. And although that might sound like a lot of fun to you, ma'am, probably not the safest of activities, okay? So we've become a pill for every ill nation, a pill for every ill. That's unfortunately how most doctors are trained. Here's a condition, here's a disease, here's a symptom. What drug can I then match up? It's basically playing matchup game here. Unfortunately, none of it gets to the root cause. It's simply doing what? Masking, covering up, palliating the symptom. Okay? Nutrition, both of you mentioned nutrition, okay? If I were to point to one thing that's causing the health epidemic more than any other factor, it's definitely nutrition, okay? I specifically chose this picture because it's a really good representation of what we call the Standard American Diet. Standard American Diet, the acronym is SAD, and it really is sad, okay? You guys right now could probably name, we'll do this real quick, the top 5 foods in America by consumption. What are the top 5?
Hamburgers.
Burgers, what else? Fries, yep.
Coke.
What'd you say? Coke, you got it. Yeah, we got 3 of them.
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Eggs, nuggets.
What are we still? We're saying chicken nuggets, and someone said French fries, and we need pizza.
Pizza.
You forgot? How could you forget pizza? It should have been number 1. You guys are all eating healthy. You shouldn't even be here. That's your top 5. Now, if you take a look at this picture, everything that was once good, if you can call wheat good, with this food has been removed. It's been stripped. Okay? Consider this. The vitamins are gone, the minerals are gone, antioxidants are gone, enzymes are gone, the fiber's gone. Any truly healthy food will have all 5 of those. This food is completely devoid of all 5. So now you have deficient food. And it's toxic because guess what? It's full of artificial colors and sweeteners and additives and preservatives. Okay? It's full of gluten, of course. It's full of, we'll talk about glyphosate, we'll talk about Roundup, herbicides, pesticides. So now what you have in front of you is deficient food, nutritionally deficient food, and toxic food. And when you eat toxic food and deficient food, what happens to your body? You become deficient and toxic. And guess what is the root cause of all disease in the world? Inflammation. Okay, we're going to get to inflammation here at the very end. But inflammation, and here's a little gem I'm going to give you guys right now at the onset here. The inflammation is only caused by 2 things. Deficiencies in the body, that means you don't have enough of what should be there, and toxicities. Too much of the things that should not be there. And when you take care of those 2 categories, health is around the corner. That's how you get health back, is you deal with deficiencies, you deal with toxicities, okay? I usually don't give that this early, but I like you guys. Okay, stress. There's 3 types of stress. What type of stresses are there? Well, there's emotional stress, okay? There's chemical stress, there's physical stress, okay? We're going to talk about chemical stress here in a minute. Who has no stress in this room? Let's see all those hands. See all those hands? Okay, activity. How many people in this room are getting as much exercise as they know they should be getting? Let me see all those hands. Okay. The CDC now reports that at least 80% of Americans are not meeting the minimum recommendation for activity and exercise. Okay, so while your goal may be to go to the gym and really get after it, this is my stunt double, by the way, really go and get after it, what usually happens is something more like this. That's you? You're not supposed to admit that. Because what happens, we're tired, we're unmotivated, we're unfit, we've been to the gym, we ran into old Superman here, we walked out of that gym. Maybe we saw a trainer and they pushed us too hard, or we don't like what we're doing. Okay, there's a lot of excuses, of course, but here's the bottom line. If health and vitality and longevity is your goal, exercise is mandatory. It's absolutely mandatory. What do you guys think is the very best form of physical activity, exercise, that you could possibly do?
Cardio.
Cardio, okay. I like cardio. I don't want to dissuade you from your cardio. What do you do? What do you do for cardio?
Ride a bike.
Ride a bike. Okay, I like ride bikes. Okay, keep doing that. But what else would I add to his regimen?
Just walking.
Walking is good too. I knew I was going to hear that.
Yoga?
Huh?
Yoga?
Yoga?
Yeah.
Okay, that's decent too. You guys give me some good answers. Okay, swimming is great too. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little hint here. What is the most prevalent common condition, health condition in the world? What are we struggling with the most? It's called insulin resistance. Insulin resistant. What is the number one way physically to combat insulin resistance? Strength training. Resistance training, strength training is the best form of activity if the number one condition on planet Earth is insulin resistance. We talk at great length about this when you come and see me. I teach a class, it's a nutrition class, and we talk about this as well. But yeah, like I said, if longevity and vitality is the goal, exercise is absolutely paramount. So a lot of these things that we're talking about here, we're going to put that, like I said, under the umbrella of lifestyle medicine. So if it's the prescription drugs, the food that we eat, our diet, our sleep, we're going to get into that in a second, our activity, our stress, chemical stress, toxins, all of these things play a huge role in your health. And actually, they do determine your health. 95% of your health is determined by your lifestyle, determined by your choices, leaving only 5% left for what? Who else? What we can blame for 5%? What's left over? That's out of our control.
The environment.
I would agree that's out of our control. Yeah, that's big government usually. But it's mom and dad, your genes. You can't pick your genes. Okay, they picked you, unfortunately, for some of us. You can't control your genes. But here's the thing. If you go see your doctor and you got a major health issue, most of the time, if you ask your doctor, how did I get to this point? Why do I have diabetes? Why is my cholesterol so high? Why is my blood pressure so high? Why do I have cancer? The number one answer that's coming back at you is,
Don't stress too much.
don't stress too much. Okay, that's a good answer. It's usually genes. They're going to blame it on your genes. Okay, they're going to say bad luck. Okay, they're going to say it's a virus, right? The answer is this. 95% of the time, it has everything to do with what you have done, which means health is a choice, and you can learn how to choose it, okay? Which we're going to talk about. We don't have, so to some extent, we have to blame ourselves for the health crisis, okay? But this is actually the very best news of the day, because guess what it does? It puts the control right back in our hands. Because if 95% is up to me, and I know what I'm doing, I can resume my health, I can restore my health. And that's exactly what I personally have done with my own health and hundreds, if not thousands of people that we've helped at health renewal centers, okay? So we can take those steps back to regaining that health. Who is supposed to help us? You know, this is a tough uphill battle. Who is going to help us? Who's going to fix us? I love that answer. Who else? If not us, who else can help us? I'll help you a little bit. I love that answer. Okay, we're done. We'll wrap it up. Cut. But you're right, doctors. Doctors, because guess what? If you got a white lab coat and a stethoscope, you must know what you're talking about. Okay? Because to go to medical school, to do your undergrad 4 years, then you do 4 years of medical school, then you get trained in your specialty. I mean, this is a decade of learning, right? And I don't want to do a ton of doctor bashing because I don't know one doctor that's not doing it for the right reason. They got into this business because they want to help people, they want to heal people, and help them overcome disease. But unfortunately, the doctors today are in just as much of a bad spot. They're just as much victims of the system as we are, okay? You think about it, your typical average primary care doctor today has about 2,500 patients on their roster. Okay? They're seeing maybe 30 to 40 patients a day for usually about 10 minutes. Yeah. So think about it. Last time you went and saw your doctor, how much time did he spend with you?
Not much.
How long? Did you time him? You should have.
Probably about 10 to 12 minutes.
10 to 12 minutes. Okay, that's the average. The allowable billable time that a doctor can spend with a patient for most insurance companies is, guess how long? 7 minutes. So if he gave you 3 to 10 minutes, he gave you 3 extra minutes. You got a good guy, good doctor. Extra time, working overtime.
This is because I'm talking. You keep trying to get me out. I kept talking.
Hey, we're good, yeah. We'll just stick with that. Take this medication, call me in a year.
Right.
So that's kind of the scenario that we're up against, is this medical system. But not only that, there's not a ton of time for these doctors, unfortunately, because you're seeing 40 patients a day at a clip of every 10 minutes someone's coming in, and they're completely burned out end of the day. They go home, you know, they got family, they have kids, and it's time for dinner, it's time to some playtime. Do they have time now to like delve into the current research on nutrition and health and exercise and sleep? Of course not. There's no time for that. Nor does their underlying philosophy on medicine allow them to readily accept this type of medicine. Does that make sense? Because they've been through the meat locker, okay, which we talked about, which is here's your symptom, match it up with a medication. That's the game that they're ultimately playing, unfortunately, for chronic disease. And so going down this path for most doctors is career suicide because there's no money in it. There's no money in prevention. The money's in the cure, in the treatment, in the management of disease, okay? And so unfortunately a lot of doctors will not go down this path because you lose that safety net of money, of insurance money coming in. I don't take insurance, so I'm not at their beck and call. I don't have to bow down to the insurance company. I can run whatever I want in terms of labs. And because of this scenario, it does remind me of a quote from Upton Sinclair, who said, "It's very difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it." Okay, so now we're living, fortunately these doctors are living in this box called standard of care, which they cannot break out of, okay? Because now there's this algorithm, there's this formula that they have to operate under, and if they exit that box and they try to do something that is revolutionary or that doesn't conform to the current medical system, they're opening themselves up to what? Getting sued, litigation, losing their license. If a patient comes in and their cholesterol is above 200, standard of care dictates that they do what? Recommend a statin drug. We'll talk about statins. And if they don't, and that patient dies of a heart attack in the next month, guess what? Their spouse could potentially sue them for not putting them on that cholesterol-lowering medication. So it's a scary world. Even though that doctor may not believe, like me, which we'll talk about, in that statin drug, by law, they have to. Very, very scary system, okay? If you want different results than what you're getting, you have to break loose. You have to get off this treadmill of conventional medicine. And it's difficult maybe at first. It was very difficult for me when I first tried to do it. But ultimately, it is the way back to health. Now, if, let's say, worst case scenario, we leave here after this perfect presentation and we suffer from a heart attack. You know, a lot of chest pain, we're rushed to the hospital. Are we going to get good care at the emergency room? What do you guys think?
No.
We actually will get really good care at the emergency room. We actually have the best crisis care in the world in America. This is the bread and butter, okay? This is the wheelhouse of medical doctors, okay? So this is where they shine. This is where allopathic conventional medicine shines, because in terms of pointing to one cause. So if I have a heart attack, I know what the cause is. I can't, you know, there's a blockage in one of my arteries to my heart. We know what that is. There's certain things we can do for that. Or if we have trauma, if, you know, I have a third-degree burn or I'm stabbed. We know what the issue is. Rush me to the hospital. They got stuff there. They can fix you up, okay? The things that I'm talking about here tonight, it's not acute, okay? This is chronic disease. This is over the course of weeks and months and years, and unfortunately for these chronic conditions, there is no one cure. There's no one size fits all. There's no one pill for every ill. Does that make sense? But let's say we do have that heart attack and they end up having to perform triple bypass surgery. You're there in the hospital for a week. As you exit that hospital, how many medications are they going to put you on? Take a guess. Standard of care dictates you're now on how many medications? 5, good guess. You're on 5. You're on 5 medications. Okay, you're going to be on something to thin your blood. Okay, you're going to be on an antiplatelet. They're going to put you on a statin, like we just mentioned, to lower your cholesterol. And usually they'll put you on at least 2 medications to lower your blood pressure. 5 medications minimum. That's standard of care if you've had a heart attack, okay, or a stroke. But does it make any sense, though, to lower my blood pressure if before my heart attack my blood pressure was normal or even low? Does that make any sense? Doesn't matter. We're doing it. Because ultimately, this, what they're trying to do is prevent a future heart attack, but unfortunately, it has nothing to do with prevention. It has everything to do with minimizing liability, okay? Because they don't want to get sued. So after the crisis, we're on all these medications. If you've had a heart attack or a stroke or some type of a cardiovascular event, you're on medication, and there's no coming off of this stuff unless maybe you come and see someone like me, and we can help you get off. You guys who's heard of statins? You guys know what statins are? Have you ever heard of a statin drug? Okay, so I'm not going to spend maybe too much time on this, which I like to do, but statin drugs are drugs that lower your cholesterol. You guys have heard of cholesterol? And cholesterol has been a very, very huge deal, big deal, for the past 30, 40 years. And the pharmaceutical companies came up with these statins, and what they do is they do a great job at lowering your cholesterol. I'm not going to debate them on that. But where I will debate them is how well it reduces your risk of a heart attack. Now, this was an ad back in the early 2000s, and Lipitor came out and they said, you know what, if you take Lipitor every single day, it'll reduce your risk of a heart attack by 36%. Now, if that's true and there are no side effects, which unfortunately there are, then sign me up, I'll take it. But unfortunately, there's an asterisk here. What does that mean? It means, there's more information that you might want to read. When you actually go into that study that they are actually quoting here, it's not 36%. It's less than 1%. So what they've done here is they've manipulated the data, and they're basically tricking us. And this should be illegal. It's very, very unethical. It's not illegal, but they can get away with it because he who has the dollar wins. Okay? And so Lipitor has become literally the top-selling drug of all time. And it was all done because of this marketing campaign. Okay? Now I'm going to give you some natural remedies to lower your cholesterol or reduce your risk of heart attack. That's what we're after. If you take just 1 gram of fish oil every single day, you reduce your risk of a heart attack by 40%. And guess what? I have never in my career ever told someone to take just 1 gram of fish oil. Okay? Usually we need at least 2 or 3 grams. They've never done that study. They won't do that study because it would reduce your risk dramatically, probably at least 80%. Okay? If you're African American, it's 1 gram, it will reduce your risk by 77%. That's how important fish oil is, because fish oil contains omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, which, like I said before, is the driver of the disease, not the cholesterol. Okay? If you take folic acid and B12, these are simple B vitamins, okay, it reduces your risk of heart disease, of a heart attack by 50%. These are simple B vitamins. Okay? Now, selenium, if you take just 200 micrograms of selenium, you dramatically reduce your risk of many, many different types of cancer. Okay? In terms of males, what do you guys think is the ratio? How many males, what's the ratio of males at some point being diagnosed with cancer at some point in their lives? It's 1 in every what?
100%.
100%? You actually, prostate, yeah.
Live old enough, right?
Yep. It's actually 1 in 2. But you're right, prostate cancer. If you live long enough, you will die with prostate cancer, not die from it necessarily. But most men will have some type of cancer within the prostate. And women, it's 1 in 3 women will at some point be diagnosed with cancer. These are very similar statistics for heart disease. But if you take selenium, okay, 200 micrograms, very tiny amounts, trace amounts of selenium, you dramatically reduce your risk of breast cancer. So women, 1 in 6 women will at some point be diagnosed with breast cancer. Everyone in this room has probably been affected in some way by breast cancer. Okay, it's very, very common. Prostate cancer is reduced by 69%. Colon cancer, lung cancer also dramatically reduced. Now, what is selenium? Do you guys know what selenium is? Have you ever heard of it? Selenium is a mineral. It's like magnesium or zinc or copper or iron. Okay, it's found in the dirt, so it's cheaper than dirt, and that's why you never heard of it. Because there's no big pharmaceutical company walking around setting up big giant ads and promoting this on TV. But guess what? I mean, they were doing an ad for just 36%. Just imagine if they could do one for 72% reduction in breast cancer risk. Okay, it's never going to happen because there's nobody fronting that money. These studies that I'm giving you here, these are from literally the most prestigious medical journals in the world. So this is not some backwater naturopathic, homeopathic, journal that I'm getting this from. This is from New England Journal of Medicine. This is from Harvard University. But you guys never heard about it, okay? Because your doctor's not telling you about it. There is absolutely no evidence linking high cholesterol levels in women with heart disease. Doesn't matter. Okay? And in 2003, we learned this in actually the American Journal of Cardiology, that despite using statins to lower your cholesterol, there was absolutely no difference in calcified plaque buildup. Now, what causes a heart attack or a stroke? Usually, plaque buildup. Now, they used those statins and there was no difference in what? Plaque. Doesn't matter. It'll still build up. So cholesterol does not cause heart disease, nor is it a good predictor of it. And in fact, 75% of all people who suffer from a heart attack actually have low or normal cholesterol, believe it or not. Some studies are actually showing now that the higher your cholesterol, the longer you live. So we got this wrong, way wrong. This is actually from a major medical journal as well. This is from JAMA. This is from the American Medical Association. They said for one drop of cholesterol, there's an 11% increased risk of heart attack or dying from anything. Wow. Okay, you're not going to see this on CNN. I promise you that. They'll go out of business before they report this. Okay, you don't want to drop your cholesterol. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it will deplete your CoQ10. That's one of the main reasons why it's increasing your risk of heart attack. And it also vastly decreases your sex hormones. So let's talk about that for a minute. Because what are the most powerful biomolecules in the body? What are the most powerful things that you can do to the body? The most powerful molecules in your body are hormones. Not even close. Okay? So I'm really big into hormones. I want to make sure your hormones are optimized. And I want to show you some more labs because these are very interesting. This was from another female patient of mine, 55 years old, and she came to me with a lot of the classic concerns, which is she was overweight, wanted to lose weight. She was depressed, she was anxious, okay? Had no sex drive, no libido, had no energy, couldn't sleep at night, okay? Does that sound familiar to some of us? And she had been put on a statin drug for many, many years because the doctor had said, you know what, your cholesterol is above 200. We got to lower this cholesterol because we want to save you from your heart attack, okay? And so I ran her blood work to see kind of where we're at. And the first thing we look at is total cholesterol. Now, her total cholesterol was 141. That's in the green here on these labs. I mentioned kind of the 200 mark. Is her doctor happy with total cholesterol at 141? What do you guys think? Very happy. Yeah, very happy. Very happy because they want. I've heard from doctors before that you can't go too low. There's no such thing as too low cholesterol, so they're very happy with this. Am I happy with this? I'm not happy with this at all because this is far too low. So my cutoff for cholesterol for an adult is anything less than 160 is a problem. Okay, so she's at 141. If I see low cholesterol, I know as a doctor that if you have low cholesterol, maybe, perhaps, most of the time, it's going to affect your hormones because your body absolutely needs cholesterol to make hormones. Does that make sense? So what I do, I turn to page 4 of the labs, and I look at all of her female hormones, okay? Her estrogen, that's her estradiol, her progesterone, and her testosterone, these are absolutely in the ditch. There's virtually nothing left. Look at her total testosterone. It's less than 2.5. That means the test literally could not pick it up. There's nothing left here. You think this might have a little something to do with that cholesterol-lowering medication? I want to zoom in here. Yeah, less than 2.5. Guess how much testosterone a brand new, premature baby girl has? Take a guess. 5.
Wow.
And this is a 55-year-old woman, okay, who at some point wants to lose a little bit of weight, wants to maybe have sex again before she dies, okay, wants to have some energy, wants to sleep at night. Is that going to happen with this? Not possible, okay? Is it going to happen with estradiol less than 25 with progesterone at 0.29? They're literally, she's 55 years old, and there is literally no difference between these hormones and a 95-year-old woman. Could this possibly explain why she's feeling so crappy? This is the reason, okay? Not the only reason, but it's a main reason. And unfortunately, the doctor is so concerned with this stupid cholesterol thing that now we have suppressed her hormone production into a state of non-existence, okay? Cholesterol is not the problem, okay? So here's the way I would phrase it, and I can give you the science to back this. Low testosterone is a much bigger risk of heart disease than high cholesterol. Let me say it again. Low testosterone is a much bigger risk factor for a heart attack or a stroke and cancer than having high cholesterol. Okay, so same thing. I want to show you just one more quick example. This was a 72-year-old gentleman that I was treating, morbidly obese. You can see here his BMI when we started. His BMI was almost 40. Your BMI should be what? 20. Somewhere 20, 25 is normal, is healthy, right? He's about 300 pounds when we started on all the medications, the blood pressure medications, the statins and the like, and ran his cholesterol, ran all of his labs, and he's sitting at 145 when we start this thing. Am I happy with this? Not at all. Because I'm looking for at least what number? 160. Is his doctor at Kaiser happy with this?
Yeah.
He's doing backflips on his trampoline, right? Okay, I'm very concerned. And so what I do is I have to turn to page 4 and let's see what's happening to his testosterone, because maybe the fact that he is very, very sick, can't lose weight, has no libido, can't sleep, no energy, all these things that we're talking about, maybe that has something to do with his testosterone. Ran his testosterone. His total testosterone is 289 and his free testosterone is 32.8. 32.8 is what you find in a 12-year-old boy. And this is a 72-year-old man, and his wife was begging me, please help him because I want to have sex again. And I said, oh, calm down. We're working on it. She gave me 4 months. It's my deadline. I was working real hard. I was texting, calling him, trying to help her out. But we overhauled everything. I helped him get off the statin drug, get off the medications, right? And he got off all the medications. He lost 40 pounds in 4 months. He started to exercise, got on my diet, did a detox with me. I got him all the supplements that he needed, all the nutrients that his body was missing. Okay? Got him through the program, and he followed it to the letter, to the T, because his wife is over his shoulder saying, oh, what are you doing? No, you're not eating that. 4 months later, almost to the day, Christmas. It's Christmas for everybody, right? Christmas time is 12/28, 3 days after Christmas. Look, his BMI is down to 32. He's lost a lot of weight at this point. And he's off the statin, so guess what will happen to his cholesterol? Goes up. And it's at 170. I'm still not perfectly happy. It's rebounding. And then the true test. Where is that testosterone at? Guess what happened? His free testosterone doubles.
Wow.
And his total testosterone went 400. I almost couldn't believe my eyes. Okay? He was an outlier, I have to admit that. But look, total testosterone 720. For a 70-year-old man, this is outstanding. His free testosterone went up to 60, very, very good. His wife was happy, and I was happy. And again, he got his life back. So now he's sleeping better. To this day, I think he's what, 60 pounds now? I want to show you a picture of old Ron here and his beautiful wife. He lost quite a bit of weight. I mean, just look how swollen he was. I mean, some other things were not swollen, but he was very, very swollen. And so, not to beat a dead horse here, but yeah, it affects your memory because you need cholesterol in your brain. Most of your brain is actually made up of cholesterol. So dementia, Alzheimer's, if you have a family history of Alzheimer's or dementia, you have to get them off those statins. Have to, okay? Also linked to depression, anxiety. Also linked to diabetes. If you're on a statin, your chances of being diabetic go up 60%. Okay, let's talk about these blood pressure medications, okay? So this would be things like, there's diuretics, not hydroxychloroquine. There's drugs like, it could be lisinopril, it could be an ACE inhibitor, it could be a beta blocker, it could be calcium channel blockers. All these things lower your blood pressure because if your blood pressure is too high, doctors are worried that what will happen to you?
Stroke.
You could have a stroke, exactly. New study came out not too long ago, and what they found was if you're on one medication, just one medication, like lisinopril, for example, to control your blood pressure, you actually have an increased risk of stroke by 42%. If you're on 2 medications to control your blood pressure, that risk goes up by 60%. If you're on 3 medications to control your blood pressure, your risk actually goes up 148%, which means this, you'd be better off not taking those 3 meds. Okay, and I have a lot of patients that come and see me, they're on all these medications, oftentimes 3 medications, and they're actually increasing their risk of stroke. Okay, and obviously your doctor's not going to tell you that. Flip through that. I want to give you guys another now. I gave you the gazelle analogy. You guys kind of like that, the tiger, yeah? give you another analogy of what it's like to take a medication to suppress or cover up symptoms but not actually get to the root cause. So let's say again we're leaving the presentation tonight. We're super impressed. We're over the moon with what was said. We get into the car and we notice all of a sudden, I haven't seen this for like 2 years, the check engine light comes on. Okay, what's the first thing you're going to do when you see that check engine light? What do you do?
Exercise. I won't be fast.
The car's not working anymore, and you're running, you're jogging to work. If the check engine light comes on, you're probably going to take it to your mechanic, right? Eventually. You know what I do? I cover it up with my thumb. I just keep driving. It'll go off maybe. Eventually, you take it to your car doctor. You take it to your mechanic, okay? Because you trust this guy. You've been there before. You take it to your mechanic. He does some diagnostic testing, whatever he's doing over there in the shop. You're sitting in the lobby. He comes in. After about 10 minutes, he goes, you know what? I know exactly what's wrong with your car. This will take about 5 minutes, and you'll be on your way. And you think, wow, that's amazing because I heard something. There was a lot of smoke, but apparently it's an easy fix. So this is awesome. The mechanic leaves you. He goes back into his shop, and he goes into his toolbox. And you know what he grabs? Scissors. He goes up under that dash, and he cuts the wire to that light.
And that's it.
And he comes back in a few minutes. Hey, you are good to go, ma'am. Are you going to feel real comfortable knowing that he cut that wire to the light? Are you going to feel comfortable driving that car? Why not?
Because it didn't fix the problem.
Precisely. It didn't fix the underlying root cause of why that light was on in the first place. This check engine light is merely a symptom. It's not the disease. It's not the root cause. And if you cover up that symptom by cutting that light, the problem still remains. And if you don't get after that root cause, what ends up happening to you down the road in 3 days? What happens to you? You're stranded halfway up to Tahoe, aren't you? You get a total breakdown. Okay, that's your car. What about your body, your ultimate vehicle? If you don't get to the root cause of what's happening to you, you will break down. Now, what is a breakdown for a human being? Well, it could be chronic fatigue. It could be hospital visits. It could be a viral infection. It could be death. Okay. Where do you guys get your information? This is a big question. Where do you get your information from? Who do you trust? So, I'll give you an example. Let's say tomorrow morning you wake up and you got this red itchy rash on your forearm. Where are you going to go for your information? Where are you going to read about this rash and figure out how to cure it? You're going to Google it? You're going to go to Dr. Google? I love people who go to Dr. Google because when you come to Dr. Appleby, night and day. I go to Dr. Google too, right? I don't, but this is where most people go. If I type in my search engine, red itchy rash forearm, how many hits am I going to get?
A lot.
1.7 million. I've done it.
Yeah.
It's probably more nowadays. That was a few years ago I did that. So you got 1.7 million answers to this question. And the question is, who's got the right answer, right? To be honest, in that 1.7 million, maybe none of them have the right answer.
Exactly.
Okay. So who do you trust? Where do you get your information from is a big, big question. Do you guys think as Americans that we are more proactive or reactive as a people? Are we more proactive, more reactive? More reactive. I agree with that. So if you go to see your doctor, annual checkup, and he says, hey, you know what, your blood pressure is up and you put on 15 pounds in the past year, you should probably stop walking your dog like this. Okay? But I give this guy credit. I mean, he's trying to take care of his dog, right? Because the dog needs what? Exercise. If the dog doesn't get exercise, what happens to that dog? Huh?
It will go crazy.
The dog will go crazy? You have experience with that?
No. I don't feel it.
You got a pit bull at home that you didn't exercise? Chewed up everything? Okay, goes crazy. What else happens to that dog? Gets fat. What else? Give me some more. Gets sick. Gets arthritic. Gets cancer. Gets heart disease. I agree with that. Gets sad, depressed. Perfect. What happens to the driver of that vehicle when he doesn't exercise?
Get bad.
He goes crazy. He gets fat. He gets cancer, heart disease, same thing. So we know that we need exercise, and this man knows we need exercise, right? I'll give him credit for that. But he's not. So sometimes we take better care of our pets than we do ourselves, right? Do me a favor. Next time, they have these dog parks kind of throughout the area where you take your dogs, you let them run around. What are the dogs doing at these dog parks?
Running around.
Running around, what else? Socializing, chasing balls, okay? What are the owners doing in the meanwhile?
Sitting, talking with the partner.
They're sitting down, looking at their phones, looking up their rashes. That's what they're up to. They're getting a lot of good answers on their phones. Okay? There are drugs, obviously, for obesity. Okay, and this is just a handful. Metformin, insulin, statin drugs. Unfortunately, again, none of these are actually addressing the root cause of the obesity. How did we get here? Well, obviously it has everything to do with food. You guys are familiar with this? What is this called? This is your food guide pyramid, the food chart, right? Who comes up with this? Who tells us what to eat?
Kellogg's.
Ultimately, yeah, if we go down far enough, down this rabbit hole, it's Kellogg's for sure. What's that?
The FDA?
FDA, that's a good guess. It's actually the USDA.
USDA.
Okay, the Department of Agriculture. Okay, these are the farmers, Mr. Kellogg back there. These are the farmers that are growing all the corn, the wheat, the soy, and the rice. And guess what they're telling you that you have to eat the most of? Corn, wheat, soy, and the rice. Does this have anything to do with health? Has everything to do with what I say? The love of money and ease of use. Because it's super simple to wake up in the morning. I used to do it when I was a kid. You pour yourself a beautiful bowl of Fruit Loops. Okay, with a little bit of milk. How easy is that? It's a lot easier than fasting or making a big green smoothie, which I do now. Okay, and you know, there's nobody supporting the smoothie industry per se. This was the food guide pyramid that came out in 1992. Okay, this one. They come out with a new version every couple of years. The USDA is telling you that the average American needs 6 to 11 servings of breads, pastas, and cereals every single day. This was in 1992. I was 12 years old when this came out, and I was over the moon because I told my mom, 11 bowls of Fruit Loops. That's what the government's telling me. It's got to be healthy, right? We followed this advice very, very well, actually, Americans. We ate a lot more grains and carbohydrates over the past 30, 40 years. We dramatically reduced the amount of saturated fats we were eating because they told us that saturated fat leads to high cholesterol, which then leads to a heart attack. That whole thing is a joke. The most recent food guide pyramid is telling you that not only do you need to eat a certain amount of grains and vegetables and fruits and milk, but now you're seeing a silhouette of a man climbing stairs. So now you have to exercise. Okay? And literally, this came out in 2002. They're saying 90 minutes of physical activity daily is required to sustain weight. 90 minutes. Who in this room is exercising for 90 minutes other than Jeff back there? Mr. Superman? Okay, but this is actually one of the rare times that the USDA has gotten it right, because I agree with them. If you're going to eat 11 servings of pasta, you better be working out for 90 minutes a day, right? Okay, we talked about toxicity in the food. Well, this is one of the main toxins in the food today. Look at Cheerios. It has something called glyphosate in it. You guys ever heard of glyphosate? Glyphosate is Roundup. Glyphosate is the active ingredient within Roundup, which is an herbicide. And the allowable limit within tap water is 700 parts per billion. 700 parts per billion is what's allowable in your tap water. Guess how much you're getting in a bowl of Cheerios? 1,100. How is that legal? Well, because General Mills has a big lobbying system and they're able to get away with that. Meanwhile, most of us are feeding our children. Before I knew any better, my first child, he got some Cheerios. Okay? Because I didn't know any better. So the more processed that food is, if your food comes in a box, in a container, in a wrapper, it's been processed in some way, and you are virtually guaranteed to get a healthy dose of glyphosate. What does glyphosate do to the body? Well, it's an antibiotic. Glyphosate has been patented originally by Monsanto as an antibiotic. And what do antibiotics do to your gut microbiome? Destroys it. And if you destroy your gut microbiome every single day with every single bite of Cheerios, you get sick, you get fat. That's what antibiotics do. They destroy your gut microbiome. So you get an imbalance of the bad pathogenic bacteria as opposed to the good friendly ones. This is one of the key issues in health today. I don't know if anyone in this room has heard of this, but I teach a class, a long lecture that I do. It's called my nutrition class, and we go in length about this and how we avoid glyphosate. Okay? Stress, we talk about emotional, chemical stress, physical stress. Obviously, the chemical stress, one of the main components is this crazy glyphosate, which is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. These chemicals in the environment, they have been linked to all sorts of diseases, an increased risk of cancer, autoimmunity, heart disease, gastrointestinal issues for sure. But they're called obesogens. So all these chemicals in the environment, okay, whether it's the plastics, the pesticides, the herbicides, the artificial colors and the sweeteners and the solvents and the dyes and the pharmaceuticals, did I mention plastic? They're all telling your body to do what? Store more fat. Okay? And this is a huge component because your body does not want to give this up because it's been stored in your fat tissue, and when you try to diet, it doesn't want to give it up because you'll be poisoned. This is why it's so important to, if you want to lose weight, to do it through a medical detox, and that's what we do. We support the body so that it's more likely to release those nasty chemicals as you start to burn fat for fuel. Because when you oxidize fat, there will be chemicals, heavy metals that will be coming out. Very, very important. What is in your water? Okay, you need to be drinking filtered water. Okay, and ideally it wouldn't be coming in a plastic container because plastic is an obesogen. Okay, it makes you fat. It leads to disease. The water in Sacramento, unfortunately, has something called radium-228 in it and uranium. These are radioactive chemicals that increase your risk of cancer. Okay, by a factor of who knows how much, a ton. Okay. You need to filter your water. The filter that I recommend the most is called, I'll give you guys it right now, it's called the Berkey, B-E-R-K-E-Y, is my favorite filter. It's what I have at home. It's what I recommend to all my patients. I don't make a dime off of this, although they should be paying me at this point. I've sold so many of them. But a Berkey is the best water filter out there because it filters over the minerals, so the minerals are still there, but it literally takes out 100% of the glyphosate and the hormones and viruses and bacteria and nitrates. You could put pond water in this sucker and you get crystal clear, beautiful drinking water, okay? It's called a Berkey. Obviously what you drink is very, very important. This plant wants to drink, okay? It's wilting. Now if I have a wilting plant in my office, which I actually have a couple right now, what do I need to give that plant to bring it back to life? What should I give this wilting plant? Water? Okay, what else? Sunlight. What else?
Sun.
Sunlight, yep, sun. So I got water, I got sun, maybe some fertilizer, some organic material, that's nutrients. What else could I do? Anything else? I could sing to it.
Yeah.
I was going to say
I stole your thunder.
I was going to say talk to it. But.
You talk to it, you show it, you give it some love.
Yeah.
And it works. You played some Mozart, you talk dirty to it, I'm kidding. This thing is going to start growing. And you can save this wilting plant. This is a living organism, and we gave it just 4 basic things, right? And it came back to life. I've been asking this question to hundreds of people, thousands probably at this point. What should we give a plant? And you know what I've never heard as an answer? Give it a drug.
Wow.
Give it a pharmaceutical drug, and it'll plump up right away. Give it some Viagra. Never heard that one before. I'm still waiting. But that, unfortunately, if you boil it down, if you distill all of the information down that I'm giving here today, that's ultimately what they're telling you when you go see a doctor. You're missing a drug. You don't have a headache because you have a Tylenol deficiency. You don't. You don't have high cholesterol because you're missing out on a lot of Lipitor. Okay? Why do you get a headache in the first place? What do you guys think? What causes a headache? Stress. What else? Physiologically, what are you missing?
Not sleep enough.
Didn't sleep enough. Stress, which is a stress. Perfect. You didn't drink enough water. You're dehydrated, that's usually what it is, and you don't have enough magnesium. Because guess what depletes magnesium in the body? Say it. Stress. Stress will deplete your magnesium. When you run out of magnesium, you get a headache. Okay, and I don't want to get all into physiology, but you need magnesium. It's the most important. Magnesium is the most important mineral to the body. There's 60 minerals that your body needs every single day to function. And if I had to list them in terms of importance, magnesium is numero uno. Number 2 is iodine. And that's what I put all my patients on. I'm giving you guys some trade secrets here. All right. I want to go through your check engine lights. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, it means that there's something wrong under the hood. Okay? If you got bowel difficulties, a bowel difficulty would be you're not having at least one good bowel movement per day. Okay? And if you're not, then you're constipated and you have an increased risk of diabetes and cancer and heart disease. Things have to be eliminated. There's a reason that you're having a bowel movement. It's to get rid of poison. Okay? And if it's sitting in your bowel too long, it leaches back in your blood. Sounds disgusting. It's got to go. Okay? So that's a problem. Acid reflux. Heartburn. Okay? I'm not going to ask who has heartburn in this group, but very, very common condition, especially as we get older. And the question would be, what the heck is causing heartburn? Because I went to see my doctor and he gave me omeprazole. Now I'm on this Prilosec for the rest of my life to control the acid, otherwise I can't live. Okay? There is a root cause of acid reflux. Okay? But if you're taking, let's say, these PPIs, these proton pump inhibitors, to reduce the amount of acid in your stomach, guess what you're doing? You're setting yourself up for disaster. Because it will deplete the magnesium in your body. B12 deficiency is very common. You can't get enough protein because you need that acid to break down the protein, on and on and on. It leads to dementia down the road. Alzheimer's is linked to using these drugs, of course. The acid reflux, I'm going to give you a little hint here. The acid reflux is not caused by too much acid. It's the opposite. It's not enough acid. Okay? If you have acid reflux, you've been struggling with acid reflux and you can't get rid of it and you're on one of these antacids or these proton pump inhibitors, I guarantee that your acid reflux will go away within a month if you come and see me. It's gone. I'm batting 1,000 on this, okay? Because we know exactly what causes it. Acid reflux will be gone. My father, it's hard to teach your parents, but my dad had acid reflux for how long? This is my sister, by the way. All questions related to the parents. Trish, what do you got? He's been on at least 15 years. Finally, he had a conversation. Dad, let's talk about this for a second. He's like, Brett, I cannot live without my Prilosec. I'll die. Like, it's too painful. I said, Dad, if you keep taking, and this is what I said, and this was back in November. I said, Dad, if you keep taking this, you're going to die soon. You're not going to make it. I said, you will not make it and see my grandkids graduate college. I'm telling you right now, as a doctor. And that day, he stopped taking it. And he started following my advice, which is the diet, which he's now following. He's lost how much? You just saw him recently, right?
He looks great. 20 pounds.
He looks great. He looks good. He lost a lot of weight. He's doing amazing, okay? And acid reflux, gone. Wow. Off the medication. It takes a little bit longer with your parents, okay? But it can happen. If you're tired and sluggish, it doesn't mean that you need a quad shot mocha. Doesn't mean you need a Monster Energy drink. It means that you probably didn't sleep well last night. It means maybe you're stressed. And your hormones are probably off. Cortisol is probably, epinephrine's off, okay? Depression, anxiety, mood swings. What do we do to self-medicate over the counter for this stuff? If you're depressed or you're anxious, what do you reach for? I know what Trisha reaches for. There you go. Maybe a big piece of cake, some ice cream at night, maybe some alcohol, maybe some weed, maybe go gambling, maybe we do something sexual, whatever it may be. That's how you self-medicate. But is that getting to the root cause? No, that's covering up symptoms again. Okay. Insomnia. Okay, this is a big one. We're not sleeping well at night. Okay. If you're not sleeping at least 6 hours every single night, then your risk of dying of anything is triple that of someone who does. Okay. The less you sleep, the greater the chance of death, period. Okay, sleep is, in terms of importance for health, it's number 2 on my list. Number 1 is nutrition, number 2 is sleep. Even more important than exercise, believe it or not. That's my order. That's absolutely the order. That's the hierarchy of health. You got to prioritize nutrition first, sleep second, exercise third. If I could do them all at one time, that obviously would be ideal. All right. And then weight gain is a sign that things have gone haywire, that the hormones are imbalanced and we're doing something wrong. The nutrition may be off. Exercise maybe not quite there. This is a vast oversimplification of how it works in the human body. There are certain hormones that if they're high enough, you're not going to get fat because they burn fat for fuel. That's your testosterone, your growth hormone, and your thyroid. These are the good guys. The bad guys are the insulin, which we talked about at the very beginning. Remember I said if your insulin is high, you will not get lean. It's not possible. Okay. Estrogen can be too high, and also cortisol. Now, the high insulin is coming from what? Well, it's coming from grains, too many carbohydrates, right? Sugar, of course. Estrogen is coming from the plastic. Herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, they look like estrogen to the body. And cortisol, where is that coming from? Cortisol comes from not getting enough sleep and stress. Okay? When's the last time a doctor ran labs to see where all of your hormones were at? Okay? That's what you got to do. Because if you want to find the root cause, which lies with those hormones, there's a big piece of it. But what is the underlying cause of all disease? I already gave this to you guys in the very beginning. What is driving all disease? Starts with an I. You guys remember that far back? Insulin, yes. Okay, and insulin causes what in the body? Inflammation. Those are the two I's. Yeah, I'm glad you remembered insulin. Insulin definitely increases inflammation in the body via the sugar, via the refined carbohydrates, and then that also leads to an imbalance of hormones. So what that does is it's the number one contributor of heart disease. The inflammation is inflammation in the arteries. It's the link between diabetes, obesity, and heart disease itself. Drives up your insulin, raises your blood pressure, and damages your body. Blood pressure. I don't know if anyone in this room is on a blood pressure medication, but here's the thing, and here's a critical element that I want to, one of the pillars of what I'm trying to get across here is, if you go see your doctor, a great question, any question for your doctor would be a good question, but a real good question is, if you're suffering from a condition, asking your doctor, what is the cause of this condition? Really press the issue. For example, blood pressure. Asking if you have high blood pressure and you're on a couple medications, say, doctor, you know what? I really would love to know what is really causing my high blood pressure. Seems like a reasonable question, right? Do you think that your doctor has the answer for that? He probably has some idea of physiologically kind of what's going on, but ultimately the answer that he's giving you, which is more important than the answer he might give to you verbally, is, no, I want you to take this diuretic. I want you to take this beta blocker. Okay? This goes right back to the analogy that I gave with the mechanic. If your mechanic looks under the hood and he has no idea what the problem is, how is he going to fix it? If your doctor doesn't know what causes a condition, it's impossible for him to fix it, and that's the problem. They don't know, unfortunately, not to bash doctors, bless their hearts, they don't know what causes acid reflux. They do not know. Well, they think they know. They think it's too much acid. It's not. They got the opposite. And high blood pressure. What causes high blood pressure? I'm going to tell you right now what causes high blood pressure. Too much insulin and not enough magnesium. That's it. If I give you magnesium and I lower your insulin, and I've done this with hundreds of patients, you don't have to take meds anymore. So we do this safely. We watch every time you come in, we watch your blood pressure. But if you want to help someone get off of blood pressure medication, absolutely positively, I guarantee it will be done. If you want to get off of acid reflux medications, absolutely positively, I guarantee, I shouldn't guarantee anything, but I'm guaranteeing it will be done. Okay. CDC, back in 2016, they said, hey, you know what? If you take care of these three risk factors, poor diet, inactivity, and smoking, it would prevent 80% of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, 40% of all cancer. This is part of the category of everyone knows. Everyone knows you got to avoid smoking, and you got to eat right, and you got to exercise. So, how many of you guys have been to your doctor, done labs, but at the same time you don't feel right? You're that gazelle, right? And you don't know where that cheetah's at. You're looking over your shoulder. Where is that guy? So we need to look deeper. We need to look at these functional lab values. Here are just a handful. It's kind of like my top 10 markers that Kaiser, your insurance company, will not run, but are very, very important. Number one on that list is insulin, of course. Number two, I put CRP. C-reactive protein tells me how inflamed you are systemically in your body. Okay? What we do at health renewal centers is we treat the whole person. Okay? We don't treat in compartments. We start with a detox. This is a medical detox, like I mentioned before. It's 28 days. Some of you have family members that have done this. It's 28 days. I don't starve you. I don't fast you. I probably should. But I make it super simple and easy. You're not going to be hungry. We do a couple smoothies a day. These are basically like meal replacements. They taste phenomenal. Okay, they taste like big giant milkshakes. We do some salads. We do some soups. And you're going to feel tremendous after 28 days doing this. I give you all the supplements to clean out your liver, your gallbladder. Kidney flush, GI tract is all cleaned out. Fitness. So I have a personal trainer if we want to go down that path. If you're not already exercising, we deal with the various stress components. So we talk about mitigating exposure to environmental toxins and what we can do to, in terms of emotional and mental stress. Nutrition is my pride and joy. It's my baby. I spend a lot of time talking about nutrition. 80% of what I do is nutrition. So at my core, at my heart, I'm a nutritionist. Hormones, love talking about hormones, okay? Balancing the hormones is absolutely critical if you want to live long and be healthy. Supplements, of course, are mandatory. And then we do these advanced labs. So show of hands, how many of you have done at least one of these things in your life to feel better? At least one, right? Now, how many of you have done all of them at the exact same time with a trained professional? One in the back. That's ultimately what it takes to get your life back, okay? So ask yourself a couple questions, okay? What would life be like if I could resolve my current health issues? Okay, just imagine, what would it be like if I could overcome whatever I'm here for, okay? And the most important question is this: what am I willing to do to get there? How motivated are you? Okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, okay? 10 being the highest. If you're not at least an 8, you're not ready. If you're not at least an 8, do not call, do not pass go. Wait a little bit longer, because lifestyle medicine, which I practice, does not work unless you're willing to change your lifestyle. Okay, and I'm not going to ask you to do something crazy. I'm not going to ask you to start training for Ironman and fast for 28 days. Only Jeff got that protocol because he was ready for it. No, we're going to walk you through it, and what we do here, it's a concierge service. We're the only ones in Northern California that does this, which is you have access to me 24/7. You could text me at 2 in the morning, ask a question. I'm not going to answer, but Tricia will have an answer for you. She's got that phone right by her pillow. No, literally, you can within reason get a hold of us, and you can ask any question you want. You can text, you can call, you can email. And I don't know how many questions I field today. It's a ton, but and we have hundreds of patients, but that's what we do. Lucia, at this point, we have a testimonial today. We're going to skip that. So what is next? What's the next step that we have to take? Okay, hopefully you guys are motivated by what we've said here today. Action. If you've been motivated, then we need to take action, and we need to stop procrastinating. Okay. So this is what we do at Health Renewal Centers. We have individualized programs. Obviously, there's a template that I'm working with because there's certain things that I want all my patients to do, including this comprehensive blood work panel that I'm talking about, which looks at all the various biomarkers that I've been talking about, with the inflammatory markers, all your lipids, all your cholesterol, all your fatty acids, every system in the body, all your hormones, within reason. And that when you come and see me, you'll see me for at least 30 minutes every single time you see me, at least 30 minutes. I'll usually spend even more time with you than that. But your lab review will be a full hour. When's the last time you sat down with a doctor for a full hour going over your labs? I'm pretty confident that the answer is that's never happened. I teach classes, okay? So to prepare you for that 28-day cleanse, okay, there's 2 classes, okay? One is the juicing and smoothie class, where we sample some of these smoothies for you. They're, like I said, they're phenomenal. And then there's a detox preparation class that explains why we're doing this, what we can eat, what we can't eat, and we walk you through that whole process. Later on, after you do the lab review and we get you on your program, there's a nutrition class like I mentioned before, and then we also go shopping together. When's the last time you went shopping with your doctor? Okay, we go to Nordstrom. It's a lot of fun. Trisha's there trying on clothes. She's getting some shoes. You'll see her there. No, we go to a grocery store, of course, because this is very, very practical, okay? Nuts and bolts. Because what ends up in your shopping cart ends up where?
In your body.
In your mouth, yeah, in your body, okay? Like I said, medical detox, do all these labs, personal training, full access to us. You have access to all of the articles that I've written, which are very, very important, and also a book that I've co-authored. We can help everyone and anyone. I don't care. Today I met with a kid. I call him a kid. I'm so old. He's 19 years old. Scholarship, play basketball in Missouri. 6'6", okay? I had to show him a few things. I crossed him over real quick. No. I asked him how, what the jump shot looks like. I had to give him some pointers. But we treat athletes, okay? And you guys probably know who he is. Of course, yes. I can't give any names because he's a patient. There's a patient-doctor confidentiality. Yeah, he had a really bad hemorrhoids. I'm kidding. Which we had to treat him for in office. No. We treat everyone and anyone in between. I've had patients as young, I should probably tell you, but I've had kids as young as a few years old. And I've had patients in their 90s, so we can treat everyone. The goal here is to find out how close that cheetah is, okay? So here's what we're offering, because you guys were so nice, so kind to drive here this evening to spend some time with me. Your initial investment is $89. And if you want to bring a family member, a relative, your aunt, your uncle, doesn't matter, they want to come along for their own consultation as well, that's $49. That's $138 for 2 people for 2 hours. Now, when you come and see me in my office, okay, bring, current lab work if you have some within the past year. That's fine. That's great. Like we talked about here already, oftentimes the blood work that has been ran is not optimal, but if you have something, bring it in. We'll discuss it. There is a lot of paperwork that I would love for you to fill out because I want to get your full medical history. Because when you sit down with a naturopathic doctor, it takes some time because I want to know how you've been since day one. Okay? And everything in between, your diagnoses, so we'll go over that. And then we're going to go over your health goals, your priorities, your objectives, because your goals become my goals at that point. Tricia here in a second and Haley, they're going to walk around, they're going to pass out this paperwork. And I would love to get you guys, if you're willing and ready, if you're at least an 8 on that scale, to get on my schedule here tonight. And we'll check the availabilities. They have my schedule here on laptop, and we can get you scheduled to come in for just $89. And at that point, you'll come in, and then we'll make a decision. Okay, here's the program, here's the cost, here's how long it's going to take. Are you ready? Okay. After about an hour, we'll figure all those things out. Okay. Health is a choice, and you can learn how to choose it. That's kind of the key takeaway here today. Now, some of you may be thinking, you know what? All this sounds wonderful, and trying something like this, you know what? Honestly, it sounds too risky. Okay? If trying something like this is too risky, wait until they hand you the tab for not trying. If making an investment in your health sounds like too much to ask, wait until they hand you the bill for not making that investment. Okay? The number one cause of death in the United States is medical treatment in the United States, believe it or not. And the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills. Okay? There's two types of people. Two types of people that buy Cadillacs. You know that? There's 2 types of people that buy Cadillacs. You know what type of people those are? The people who can afford them and the people who cannot afford them. Okay? And similarly, there's only 2 types of sick people. Okay? Those people that do not want to make any changes to their lifestyle, and those that do but don't know where to start. Okay? This ultimately can be your starting point and your finish line through our programs. You guys do me a favor. Raise your left hand if you learned something new tonight, and raise your right hand if you're glad you came. Round of applause for yourselves. Thank you guys so much for coming. And that's it. Like I said, we'd love to get you guys onto the schedule here tonight. Trish and Haley are standing by. Any questions for me? I answered all your questions.
Yes.
Okay, very good. You guys were awesome. If you want to speak to me separately, you can grab me. We'll get off in a corner. But like I said, I would love to see all you guys very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for coming.